We're going. Say something funny.
Troglodyte.
That is funny, Peter.
Yeah, it's a funny word.
It's a lot of letters.
And it's a great song. You like that song, Jeremy?
It is.
I don't know.
You like that?
I do. That's, of course, like the first thing that comes to my mind whenever I hear that song. Or hear that word.
Yeah. Yeah.
How often do you hear that word?
I don't. Like, that's the only thing I can think of when I hear that word.
Only in association with that song.
Right.
That's by Jeremy. Are you not hip to the Jimmy Castor bunch?
No.
Welcome to I'd Buy That for $1, a podcast about inexpensive, common, and underappreciated records that are waiting to be rediscovered. I'm your host, Sean Hartman, author of the new book, Legacy of Cringe, A History of Failed Corporate Attempts at Participating in Meme Culture.
That's a definite, yeah, I would buy that in a second.
All right, I'm sending you the pre-order link now.
Bought. Already.
Perfect.
That's why I have autofill on my credit card.
And the link was to not what you thought it was going to be.
Well,
just a picture of a duck with wheels.
I'm co-host Jeremy, and I'm never going to give you all the satisfaction of a Rickroll on this Rick Astley episode.
I appreciate that.
I am co-host Peter Cook, and I got a big hulking beast of a desk that I need help moving from one room to another at my house. It's gargantuan. Are any of you up for helping?
No.
It would take a strong, strong man.
I can help you by finding someone else who is a strong, strong man.
Perfect. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Joining us today on I'd Buy That for $1 is a psychotherapist by day and a DJ by night. Welcome back to the program, Lola Kinks.
Hey, everyone. So great to be back. So great to be back.
It's been too long.
It has been too long, and I'm so excited to bring what I got for y'all today.
Yeah, let's waste no more time. Tell them what it is.
Today I have for everyone Rick Astley's Whenever You Need Somebody.
1987 classic.
Which has been in my life for a good while now. So, I've been talking about it for long enough. I figured it'd be great to have a platform to share with more folks. So thank you for inviting me to do that.
So what, I'm guessing people are expecting a certain song, but what did you want to play first?
I'm just going to go with the title track. That's one that stands out to me and has been one that has, certainly brought me a lot of joy and been a cause for many dance parties, solo ones in my life. So let's go with that one.
All right, fantastic. This is Rick Astley's debut album, Side A, Track 2.
Change the rules, and I don't care about with me. Time and time you say you wanna be free, and you can have some fun. That's okay with me. You will never know just how good I feel. The joy inside of me makes me feel so real. When you're all alone and if you're feeling down, call me, I'll be around. Whenever you need somebody, I'll bring my love to you. You don't have to say you love me. I just wanna be with you.
That song has the little synthesizer lick, that little synthesizer sound that I've stated before. If I hear that on a song, it's an instant great song. Just that little kind of playing around in the background with the guitar licks. It's so funky. I love it.
Wait, what's it again? What's the sound?
Like,
Yes,
yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I do. Quite. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because I think that is kind of like the magical quality of many a song from the 80s that I've never been able to quite name, but that dun, dun, dun is certainly registering with
Yeah,
me.
every great boogie funk song has it, you know. Can't get enough.
Absolutely. And when I think about this track, one thing that I was thinking is that I knew that this actually is a cover, and I have never actually heard the original track. Like, have any of you heard the original track?
I was going to ask if you had. I learned that in researching for this episode too, that it was originally written for singer Oshai Brown and released in 1985.
Yeah. And so, and it, was a single on the, the UK charts and was a minor hit, but it was released in the States, like, as well, like I maybe a year later, a little bit less than a year, and it hit like number 1 on the dance charts here, but I have never heard it.
The version by Oshai Brown you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I've meant to check that out. I was just thinking that, so I'll have to do that after the fact and see how this version compares.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we're going to get more, later into, who this was written by and all of those things, how this all came together. But yeah, I thought that was definitely something to note for folks who are listening to check that out.
Yeah, I guess it was rush recorded as a follow-up single to the unexpected massive success of Never Gonna Give You Up, which that single, the big single that everyone knows, predates the album by several months, like 4 months. And this one, Whenever You Need Somebody, the title cut from this album, was released much closer to the time frame that the album came out in November of 1987.
And one thing that also, I'm sure folks that are listening, I'm just going to let it out right now. I did not choose to feature Never Gonna Give You Up on this. Maybe I'm letting the cat out of the bag too soon. There are reasons why that we will certainly get into, but I feel like we can't not talk about it before we even get to some of the other things that kind of surround its, how so many more people became aware of that track. But, there are several things that kind of stand out to me about that track. And one that is unmistakable is just, when it hit, it really hit. And he became almost like this star in no time. And it really, that voice of his is just undeniable, at least to me. I grew up hearing his tracks in my childhood home. I was living overseas. My father, oh goodness, even though he definitely enjoyed some Rick Astley tracks, he used to call him Howdy Doody, because I used to sit and be bopping around to Rick Astley tracks. He's like, there you go, listen to Howdy Doody. I was like, Dad, really? Poor me, I had no idea what he meant until years later that I looked up Howdy Doody, and then, I knew what he meant and got the reference, and it's like, oh, goodness.
You can see the resemblance.
Oh, wow. I heard that voice and I just could not believe that it was coming out of the body of that man that I was seeing. You know, I was young, even. I couldn't understand. It was like, did not compute. Yeah, to that like baritone sound coming out of this, like, you know, I guess when they recorded, he was maybe 19 or 20. So to think that that voice had been coming out of that body of his for, you know, probably a good while, it still wows me to this day.
Not to mention, if you look at him on the album cover, he looks like maybe 13, 14.
Yeah.
Quite the baby-faced boy on this record.
He's totally that. And, you know, he grew up like as, you know, he was a choir boy. And that's exactly what he's giving. Like choir boy that they just like, you know, dressed up in these like really like slick, you know, clothes of the time. So.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and listening to interviews with him talking about his image and just, you know, this becoming this massive sort of overnight success, he said that in those early videos, if he watches them now, he can tell he's just terrified and very uncertain about himself. But he thinks that's somehow what made him sort of an approachable or accessible star at the same time.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And from the Never Gonna Give You Up video, I remember seeing somewhere like they didn't have a stylist or anything for that. Those are his clothes. And he, like, that was him. So I think to your point, you know, it really did, you know, speak to who it did, you know, who was drawn in. I think that they saw that this was this person that was presenting himself as he was, and he seriously was in that video. He just, you know, went into his closet, like put on what kind of fit him and went with it. But he also spoke about like he was pretty terrified, like doing it. So, you know, to think just like the massive impact that song has had and a, you know, in a variety of ways, you know, it that definitely warms my heart.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about kind of its double life having impact. But do any of us have much background with Rick Astley? Or I guess, you know, Lola, you obviously grew up with this, it sounds like, as a hit in its time. Mm-hmm. I more or less missed Rick Astley, even though I was 7 years old when this album came out. I missed him in the 80s. I just wasn't that tuned into MTV or the radio. There's actually other songs on this album that I remember better from the 80s than Never Gonna Give You Up.
Oh, I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of them because I was a baby being born.
You were born in 1987.
Yes.
I'm reminded of this every time I come back, like every record that I bring. Yeah, it's you know, how does it feel to be introduced to it?
Well, I was thinking about how this album is one of very few albums we've featured that is younger than me.
Yeah, there's a short list there.
Yeah.
Including Level 42, which, you know, I brought a couple of times ago when I visited.
Correct.
Yeah, we can probably say this up front that this album nowadays, you're not gonna find it cheap, very likely. It has gone up due to Rick Astley's career resurgence. Sean, is this something that in your early days working in a record store you would sell for pretty cheap?
Yeah, that's right. About
15 years ago.
10 years ago, this was an easier to find record, but the, you know, extended career resurgence has slowly driven the price up. I remember first putting this on when I started working in record stores around 2009, just familiar with the big song from the meme, which was everywhere at that point, and just had the thought, I wonder what the rest of this record sounds like, and it's pretty good. It's actually a good record. Mm-hmm. I've always been kind of fascinated with artists that later on in their career get famous for something kind of unrelated or like a small aspect, and then there's this whole new generation of people that never go back and like understand the artist. I mean, around the same time the same thing was happening for Rick James. People only knew him from like referenced from the Dave Chappelle show, not as an influential musician in his day.
Wow, you're so right. I love the you making those references, I'm thinking back to that time in my life, and there were so many other, I feel like, people that I was aware of that were also having these resurgences. So yeah, what a cool time.
Well, how about we play another selection from this record before we go any further? What did you want to play next, Lola?
The next one I would like to play is "It Would Take a Strong, Strong Man."
Oh yeah. This might be my favorite song on the album.
So good.
Here it is. It Would Take a Strong, Strong Man, Side A, Track 4.
My heart starts breaking when I think of making a plan to let you go. I keep thinking maybe tomorrow I'm gonna let you know. But when I think about leaving, I think about losing the only love I ever knew. Every time I think of you, my heart starts aching, my hands keep shaking, and you know, it would take a strong, strong man to ever let you go. To ever let you go. My heart's been hurting when I see you flirting every night out on the floor. I keep thinking maybe tomorrow you'll grow to love me more. But whenever we're together, I could leave you never, even though you treat me cruel. Every time I look at you, my heart starts aching, my hands keep shaking, and you know, it would take a strong, strong man to ever let you go. To ever let you go. I've tried to resist you. When you're gone, all I ever do is miss you. Anyone in love would know.
I was listening to that one, and something about it took me a minute to place it, but it started to remind me a bit of when we did the Huey Lewis and the News sports album, that sort of blue-eyed soul sound that they have. I definitely connected it to that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. In listening to that, my thought was like, man, I bet this guy listened to a lot of Motown. You can really tell the love of that early 60s soul sound in that track.
Yes. And you bring me back, Sean, to what you said, that you kind of look at him on this cover and he looks so young. And there's a part in the song where he like says maybe tomorrow, and his voice cracks a little bit, and it makes me think about this little kid like singing Motown songs, and just gosh, my heart, I love that. Yeah, my heart starts aching. That's what, for sure. And I don't know if y'all have seen the video for this track. Have you?
I watched it, yeah.
Yeah. So did you notice anyone familiar in the video?
I don't think I was correct, but I think this is the one that I thought the woman was Ione Skye, but
you're close. Not Ione, but it's Mädchen Amick, who played Shelley Johnson in Twin Peaks.
oh, okay.
Whoa.
Younger than Ione, yes. She and Mädchen was, I think, about like 18 or so, like when she was in this. So this is, predating Twin Peaks. So yeah, that it's so cute to see her in that kind of playing dress up. It looks like, when you see the video, and both of them in a sense, because they both have this very youthful vibe. And, again, that voice of his is just, it's so damn soulful. I really appreciate the allusion to, Huey Lewis. And just like that Blue-Eyed Soul sound for sure, which, comes up more in future records that I'll talk about as well. But this one certainly takes the cake in that regard. And it's interesting because it was specifically intended for the American market, which when you think about it, they really wanted to draw some interest from a variety of communities and such, and they felt like this maybe would be more of a lure for folks in the United States. And so this one, I can't remember what it hit, but it definitely was one of the singles for sure. I think it was the 5th single off the album.
Yeah, this hit number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the U.S. It was a number 1 single in Canada. So
I noted that, yeah.
Yeah, the North American market was what this one was geared towards.
Yeah, and there was something that I was going to say before, and I remember it, which is this. We've talked about Never Gonna Give You Up, and then Whenever You Need Somebody, and now we're at this track. But something that wasn't mentioned is those weren't his first singles. He actually had a song that was put out before anything on this record. And it's a track called When You Gonna with a woman named Lisa. I believe her name is Lisa Carter. That was a flop. And when you listen to that track, I mean, Sean, you're talking about that element that shows up in a lot of boogie tracks. That track is fire, and I don't understand why it did not hit, especially in the UK, which even to date is such a fan of a lot of the boogie tracks that I know I play out, Sean plays out. But yeah, that's something of note for folks to hear, Rick even predating this album, that track When You Gonna.
Well, let's take a minute to take our dancing shoes off. We'll get back to Rick here, but
we won't give it up.
We won't give it up. But we wanted to take a minute to remind you of our Season 5 Patreon push, which is happening right now. We're getting right down to the end of it. This is our annual fundraiser where if you are signed up before March 31st, by March 31st, then you will receive, on top of all the normal cool stuff you get for being a member of our Patreon, you'll also receive special swag designed by artist and illustrator Ellen Vandermeide.
It's pretty rad this year.
Yeah, I was very psyched on the sports theme, which is the I'd Buy That for $1 All-Star Team, which features the likenesses of previously discussed artists Johnny Mathis, Tammy Wynette, Charlie Pride, and Chris Christopherson, who all were legit athletes before they became famous musicians.
Yeah, very nearly famous athletes instead of musicians.
Yeah, and it also features the I'd Buy That for $1 All-Star Bench Warmers. Which are me, Sean, and Peter, of course.
Yeah, we've been slowly building up this team for several seasons now, and it's fun to finally see it all come together. And we're watching it from the bench.
It's great to watch it from the bench. For those designs, if you're signed up at the $1 early access tier, you will receive a sticker of the All-Star logo, as well as early access to the episodes before everyone else gets them. At the $5 bonus episode tier, you'll get the sticker as well as a pin of the All-Star Bench Warmers, and you'll get the bonus episodes on 45s that we do, which are pretty cool.
How many bonus episodes have we done at this point? I feel like there's actually quite a bit of bonus content for people that sign up now.
It's around 45 this month, I think. I think we have 45 on 45s.
Yes.
Perfect.
So if you're not getting enough content from us somehow, there's tons more over at the Patreon. Just like there's tons more swag here. At the $10 monthly mix tier, you will receive the sticker and the pin, as well as a tote featuring the I'd Buy That for $1 All-Stars, which, you know what totes are good for carrying, guys?
Records.
Records? Groceries?
Yeah, records, not groceries.
Oh, okay.
Don't get that soggy stuff in our sweet little bag,
Our swag bag.
our swag bag. So you'll receive that, and you'll receive a mix made by one of us co-hosts based on the artists we featured that month. So
Every month.
every month, and we go in on those. It's not phoned in. And finally, at the $25 vinyl subscription tier, you will get the tote bag, you'll get the pin, you'll get the sticker, and you will receive an I'd Buy That for $1 mug with both the All-Stars and us bench warmers on it.
We're all there.
We're all there. You also get vinyl sent to you each month, as well as a handwritten note from the crew here, and all that other swag. Also, a satisfaction of giving to
Yeah.
our cause.
Yeah, helping us out over here. And all of that goes towards running the podcast.
Yeah, that's not going into our pockets. We're not like these other podcasters making a killing, buying mansions, sweet cars off your money.
I mean, someday, but we got to start somewhere.
Yeah, for now we're just paying the bills of the podcast, not even our
Yeah,
own
we're
bills.
still honest for now, but if enough people get out there and support us, that could change.
At least we're honest about that.
Wow. Well, go on down to patreon.com/I'd Buy That podcast and sign up today. Don't wait. After March 31st, you get nothing. Well, you get all the cool content, but you get none of this cool swag.
Yeah. If you want the swag, now is the time.
Yes, it will never be available again. You won't be able to buy it from us, only if someone's selling it for way too much money on eBay or something. That's the only option after this, so I highly recommend you take advantage of this great opportunity.
Yeah, I'm not selling any of my stuff. I got all my coffee mugs from every year hanging on my wall, proudly displayed.
The designs can be viewed on our Instagram at I'd Buy That Podcast, as well as on our Facebook. Search I'd Buy That for $1. And I think with that, let's get back to Rick Astley. All right, well, let's get into a little bio on Rick Astley. I didn't know anything about him until researching for this episode. I think that's probably the case for a lot of listeners. So he was born February 6th, 1966, making him 4 years younger to the day than Axl Rose.
Of course.
Beautiful, Peter.
He was born in Newton-le-Willows, Lancashire, England. He first began singing in his church choir. By his teens, he was playing drums for several bands, including a group called Give Way and another one called FBI. And they played a mix of classic 60s rock and northern soul. And for Rick, music was an escape from his tumultuous family life. Rick's parents had divorced when he was 5 years old, and he was raised by his father, who Rick has described as an angry, sad, old-fashioned guy who was struggling. When his father became physically abusive, Rick left home at age 17. He eventually took over the vocal duties for the band FBI and caught the attention of the production team of Stock, Aitken, Waterman. Saw. Yeah, we can just refer to them as Saw from here on out. That's
Great.
Mike Stock, Matt Aitken, and Peter Waterman. At that time, they were known for their work on Dead or Alive's You Spin Me Right Round, Like a Record, Mel and Kim's Respectable, and Bananarama's cover of Shocking Blues' Venus. From what I heard, initially, Mike Stock of Saw took Rick in. Rick was living at Mike's house, and he was working in the. Rick was working in the studios as like the tea boy, making tea and bringing that to the musicians as they recorded, and the engineers and whatnot. He was like a studio hand.
Yeah, that's right.
It seems too perfect of a story for the T-Boy to like be there and like, oh, we need a backup singer. And then he gets in there and his voice sounds like that. That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, they did, they were aware that he had talent as a singer bringing him in, but yeah, that he then became one of their big stars. And yeah, Saw, the production team of Saw, they had devised an assembly line for mainstream synth pop. They would write songs and record them through extensive use of synthesizers, drum machines, and sequencers, and then bring in the singer to lay down the vocal, and they would often try multiple vocalists until they got the right fit.
Yeah, I watched an interview with Rick Astley not too long ago with Justin Hawkins, the singer of The Darkness.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah, which I think was kind of an interesting parallel on this point that Rick Astley was talking about, that because he was a part of Saw, or, worked with them, he felt like a fraud when he'd enter a room and it'd be like a bunch of musicians, and he felt like they all looked at him as like kind of a phony or something because of this like production line approach that they used. But as we'll find out, Rick was not just a singer.
No, absolutely not. And, there some other things to add, him being this like T-boy, it was also in a sense, like kind of like part of this like preparation that they had for him to kind of get his sea legs more in the industry. Because, he was really young. I believe it was like Pete Waterman, who actually saw him in FBI, and, Rick, like, referred to FBI as like this jangly guitar band. And, Pete Waterman saw them perform and was so just like fascinated by Rick's voice. He like made an offer to Rick, like to sign him, but not the band. And so I think, that kind of like sat, that really like was heavy on Rick's heart, because as many people will say, he's such a kind guy. He's just such a really sweet guy. And to date, if I remember correctly, I think I read somewhere, or the band kind of felt bad, like that they were kind of keeping him away from like, reaching his goals and his dreams, because he wasn't into it. He didn't want to go forward with it because he's in this band and he feels, dedicated to the band. But eventually, like, it ended up that, yes, he connected with them. And this was kind of like to help him to also get over some of the shyness, because he was also a really shy guy. He also learned a lot of what was going on in the studio, like what production and engineering and all of that, what's that all about? How does that look? How does that feel? How does that, here and there, he would be serving tea as well. And I remember him saying, once he's like, yeah, and here I am like serving tea to Bananarama. Me, like the MTV loving kid that I was, who watched a lot of these artists, just like thinking that they, were just like hanging out together like that in the studio. It just makes me think of like Band-Aid. Do They Know It's Christmas?
Yeah, Saw, the production team of Saw wrote 5 of the 10 tracks featured on this album, and they produced 6 of them. Rick Astley wrote 4 of the songs, including the next one that we were going to feature, No More Looking for Love. Are we ready to do that?
Yes, please.
All right, that is Side B, track 3.
I've been waiting for a love to call my own. I've been hoping you would say you're coming home. I will put my arms around
that song kind of holds together. I mentioned earlier that, he's more than just a phony singing the lyrics over the Saw productions. I think I like the songs he wrote on this album more than any of the Saw songs on this album. I can see why those ones are hits, like, they're well-produced pop tracks, but yeah, the songs he wrote, I think, really display that he's more than just a singer.
Yeah, that one definitely had a different feel from the Saw written and produced tracks.
Yeah, I think also if for folks that are listening, the songs that he wrote on this album, if you're wondering, are, of course, this one, Slipping Away, You Move Me, and The Love Has Gone, which definitely have a bit different flavor from these Saw tracks for sure. I relate to that for sure.
Yeah, they put most of those on the B side of the album.
They sure did.
And they front loaded it with most of the Saw tracks.
They sure did. Absolutely.
So 6 of the 10 songs on this album were released as singles to various markets, as we kind of established. Some might be to North American market, some might be to the Italian market exclusively, but this is a heavily promoted album. His sophomore album, Hold Me in Your Arms, was released almost exactly 1 year after the debut in November of 1988. And it was again produced by Saw, and it had some successful singles, but it was nowhere near the level of the debut. And I mean, it's rarely would I say it's something that hits as hard as this album does is going to have a follow-up that also, equals it or goes beyond it. The British media turned on Rick Astley. They started calling him a puppet for Saw. For his third album, Free, Rick Astley attempted to shed the dance pop boy next door image and did not work with Saw. He attempted a more R&B or adult contemporary sound. He included Michael McDonald on a song. Actually, it was a Michael McDonald written song that McDonald also sang backing vocals on. Their voices together are hilarious. Michael McDonald and Rick Astley.
Yeah, that's wild.
I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds
Two
good.
famously deep-voiced, soulful white guys.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. In the Name of Love is the track.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Elton John appears on a couple tracks on that album, and Lola, Mark King
I know.
of level 42 appears on bass on one track.
Oh, I know. And there's also 2 others. So Elton John is also on there. And then the Andre Crouch choir. Are you familiar with?
I saw that. I didn't know what that was.
So the Andre Crouch choir was a choir that was called upon for many different tracks. They reached prominence in the 80s, and they're also on Man in the Mirror and Madonna's Like a Prayer.
Okay. Yeah, there were so many names that had links to them when I was looking at the Wikipedia for that album that I was like, this is going to take me down too many rabbit holes if I start figuring out who all these people are. So I just went with the ones I recognized. But yeah, I mean, it seems like they brought in the talent for that album. It had one modest hit, Cry for Help, but ultimately that third album signified the end of Rick Astley's highly successful commercial run in his initial run. After 1993's Body and Soul album failed to make much impact, Rick took close to a decade off from music. He returned in 2001 with the Germany-only album release, Keep It Turned On. In 2005, he released Portrait, a cover album of pop standards. He does Cry Me a River and Close to You on there. A couple songs we featured on previous episodes. But it was not promoted by Sony BMG, yet still managed to reach number 26 on the UK charts. And then we get to what everyone's been waiting for, the unexpected career resurgence in 2007 with the onset of Rickrolling. And for anyone who doesn't know, I think we we need to explain what this phenomenon is.
Okay, so first explain 4chan. Go.
Yeah, I'm not the one to do that. When this happened, I had roommates who lived on 4chan. I stayed away from 4chan. I was way too busy researching.
Maybe also stay away from those roommates.
Yeah, for real.
Sheesh. Yeah.
For me, the internet was researching music from the 60s and 70s at that time.
And look where it's got you. A wise choice, former Peter.
Yeah, who wants to explain Rickrolling? Who wants to take it?
Well, the short version is it got very popular when there were rumors of a new Grand Theft Auto game coming out. Somebody in a forum posted a link to supposedly some video from the game, but it was actually a link to Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. And
the video.
Yeah, the YouTube video. And then it just got really popular to trick people by posting links to that YouTube video and saying it's something else.
Yes, it is. It is the most popular bait and switch meme of all time.
In researching the history of Rickrolling, I did stumble on a little nugget that a guy named Eric Helwig of Michigan, somewhere up near Caro, Michigan, sort of in the Flint-Saginaw area, he claimed that he rickrolled a local radio station as early as 2006, at least a calendar year before the viral internet meme phenomenon. And he had audio proof of that he called the radio station, and then when the DJ asked him a question, he started playing Never Gonna Give You Up.
Interesting.
Yeah. It started in Michigan. We can claim that.
And you said 2006, right?
Yep.
Because like the Rickrolling came as a result of like the original bait and switch was in 2006, where it was like a moderator on like a 4chan moderator that, and every time I guess on one of the boards, someone would post the word, like, I think it was egg, like it would say duck or something like that.
Yeah. Oh God.
And
Sean referred to this earlier, and I didn't understand what this. Yeah, it started. The rolling part of Rickrolling comes from duck rolling.
yeah. So instead of egg, it was duck, and then it was a duck roll.
Yeah, because someone tried to post the word egg roll.
Yeah.
And it corrected to duck roll, and then people thought it was funny and started making images of ducks with wheels on them, and that became known as duck rolling because it was a duck with wheels. And then some of the same forums that created that then were like spearheaded the main Rick rolling thing, so that's why the names are associated. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we might have jumped over the fact that 4chan was the forum that this was initially happening on.
Yes, which started several years before that, maybe like 3 or 4 years before that, by a teenager.
Yep.
And then fast forward a couple years, and every corporation is trying to do their own version of Rick rolling, and it's not funny even once.
Well, and Rick Astley, he was initially apprehensive about, how do I react to this? What is, like, why am I the one? What does this have to do with me? And it was actually, he had a teenage daughter. His daughter was a teenager at the time.
Yeah.
And she was there to say, Dad, this has nothing to do with you. You know, just embrace it.
Yeah.
She encouraged him to accept tour offers and to, you know, he rickrolled the 2008 Macy's Day Parade.
I watched the video of that right before this. Everyone involved looks so sad.
Yeah. So cool.
It's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
But
he embraces it.
Yeah,
I love it.
He also accepted into the 2008 MTV Europe Music Awards, awarded him Best Act Ever, which he realized was ludicrous. But he just, once again, you know, decided to roll with it. Just let's go with this. And I think the fact, he's, as we said, he's kind of a likable, down-to-earth guy, and he just went with this thing that everyone randomly seemed to latch on to. I think that's why he has had a career resurgence, and he's released 3 albums in the past 10 years.
Including one last year, correct?
Yeah, in October.
Yeah.
And he's on tour right now. Like he's in he's doing like a UK, Ireland, Europe tour right now, and who knows where else he'll go beyond that. And I mean, the record it's inspired by the soul music that is, pretty clearly obvious by, the way that he sings. Although he, like you were saying, he has like an album that's standards. Like he's very classic, but he really is living his life to the fullest right now. A couple years ago, I really wanted to go as well. I think it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. He was on tour. He opened up for New Kids on the Block. It was also, I think, En Vogue and Salt and Peppa were also on the tour. It's like the mixtape tour.
Oh, wow.
So he's embracing like these opportunities to connect with folks who get him and, who are willing to see him, hear him, understand him. Like he will provide a hell of a show. I know this to be true because in 2017, I saw him here in Philly at the Electric Factory, RIP, and it was a killer concert. And what's funny is that I didn't know this at the time, what I will say after this next tidbit, but he did a cover of Foo Fighters' Everlong. That was just so good. And he started playing guitar, and I didn't know at the time that, aside from being like the singer that he is, he's also trained drummer, like he was an FBI, and also a guitarist. And he was just like going off on that guitar and just sang the hell out of that track. And what's funny about that is apparently he became close with Foo Fighters at some point because years ago, Foo Fighters had rickrolled members of the Westboro Baptist Church.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess that was a couple years before, like I saw him in concert, but yeah, he's since become close. And I think they've even like brought each other out I think Foo Fighters brought him out on stage at some point within the last like several years. I think it was one of the headliners for Glastonbury last year. And he was covering like Smith's tracks, like AC/DC, like Harry Styles, he was quite a draw.
Well, the Glastonbury last year, he did a solo set, but he also did a set with an indie band called Blossoms that was all Smith songs. It was like 16 Smith songs as its own separate set.
I'm sure there's a part of Rick Astley that would have loved to have been, a musician writing his own songs and maybe even more in like a rock or classic pop vein. But you got to give it to him that he's just sort of, accepted how he got started. He seems grateful for it. He ultimately kind of embraces any weird direction that his career might take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the whole go with the flow.
Reminds me of Ray Parker Jr. and his relationship to the Ghostbusters theme. Just embracing it.
Yeah, the interview I watched with Rick, he seems like a real music head, too. They were asking him about the Smith set and how that came to be, and he was talking about how during COVID he'd like pick a band and then listen chronologically to everything they ever made. And was doing this with, multiple bands. So dude loves music, clearly.
Way to spend the time. There's a video on YouTube of him from that same period. And he is, it's maybe like 2-3 minutes. And at this point, I think there's like 4.4 million views. And it's him washing his trash cans, just dancing around to Dua Lipa. So dude was really just embracing that time and like leaning into just like, some people call it cringe. I call it, being your most authentic self and fun and, And he was all the way in. So I love that he took that time to just dive into all sorts of music as well.
Yeah, it's only cringe if corporations are involved.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually found the Ted Lasso episode that celebrated Never Gonna Give You Up and that really used that as a plot point in the episode. I found that powerful.
Yeah.
In the one where Rebecca's father passes away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was...
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, for those who have not
I've
yet
never
watched
seen
Ted
it.
Lasso.
I just found out about it. It's okay.
Yeah. Oh, darn. My bad.
No, I found out about it beforehand. It's okay.
Oh, okay. Well, Sean, if you don't have any Rickrolling that you plan to do at this point in the episode,
Yeah, no plans for that.
might you have some recommended similar albums rolling you want to do? Since it's very possible, it's very likely that if people find this album, they're going to be paying between, let's be real, about 10 and 20 bucks for it nowadays. This is more of an honorary bargain bin title that we're featuring today. And just an artist, we can definitely go with the underappreciated angle here, because even though everyone knows the one big song, yeah, there's a lot more to this guy.
Former bargain bin artist as well. So
Yeah, former bargain bin artist. But do you have anything else along these lines you can suggest to our listeners?
yeah, you already dropped 20 bucks at the store. You want to get a few more titles on the cheap, make a little stack. I would recommend previously featured and much loved Kashif in his 1987 album Love Changes.
Yes.
Ooh, a later Kashif record.
A later Kashif. Yeah, we're going with all 1987 recommendations here. Another previously featured artist and famously deep-voiced soul singer making electronic music influenced by earlier Motown sounds. I would recommend Criticize by Alexander O'Neill.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We know, Lola, you're down with that.
Yes.
Another element I was picking up on a little bit is some of these tracks are almost kind of a Latin freestyle production with all the percussion things going on. And that reminded me of another 1987 album we've talked about, Poolside by New Shoes.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And finally, one recommendation that we have mentioned already in this episode, Level 42, Runnin' in the Family, 1987. Previously discussed with Lola Kinks.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yes. Sean, you already know how I feel about all of those. Thank you. And can I just add just a couple of things about the sound that I think is important to note? We talked about Never Gonna Give You Up, but one thing that hadn't been mentioned is that apparently Pete Waterman was influenced by the bass line from Colonel Abrams' Trapped. Did any of you hear about this?
No.
No, can't say I did.
Yeah. So apparently, and it's also, Mike has his own thoughts about this, because apparently, like, Pete had done an interview and said that he had heard the bass line from Trapped, and like that's what like inspired a lot of those elements or that element specifically in Never Gonna Give You Up, and that then he wrote then the song was written in no time. But Mike Stock says, yeah, that's not really true. It took like a while for us to get there. But not only just the bass line from Trap was inspiration, but also I think the hi-hat, and he said a Sybil song, and I had to think back, like, what Sybil song? I'm like, oh, Fallen in Love. So if you go and you listen to the hi-hat in Fallen in Love, you listen to the bass line from Colonel Abrams' Trapped, you will hear some of the inspiration for not only Never Gonna Give You Up, but other songs on this record, including the one that will be coming up next.
Nice.
Yeah, I feel like I did notice that some of the recollections, when you have three distinct writers, producers in the Saw team, that sometimes their recollections about how things happen and who did what conflict.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and I'd love to, I don't know how in touch they are these days. And all I know is, like, P. Waterman is a very rich guy. That's one thing that I do know. I think they
can
all
imagine.
made money, but he was already, I think, because of like railroad stuff. That was part of how he has made his money as well. So, but I'd love to get them in a room and just hear their, recollections of this time and how they kind of all came to the fame that they did.
Well, Lola, now that we've properly highlighted Rick Astley, we turn to you and ask if you have anything you'd like to promote for our listeners to check out, or anything you're up to that you want to shout out while you're here with us.
Yeah. Well, first off, thanks so much for having me back. Always a joy to be here and gush about albums that have made such a splash in my childhood. And this one will continue beyond to just woo me. Yeah, I have in I think it's like in next month, in April, I am on the board of a national nonprofit called Women in Vinyl. I serve as board director of culture, and I'm very excited to be one of the folks that will be on deck representing them for VinylCon, which is like a record collector convention that will be here in Philly the end of April. I think it's the 26th and 27th. We will be on site sharing more about the work that we do with our organization, bringing some visibility to, women, non-binary folks, trans folks, queer folks, and other, marginalized folks that are in the vinyl industry. They're going to be holding space for us to set up shop and share more about, all of that our work entails. So it'll be a joy to be doing that in the next couple of months. And, in between time, I'll be playing at some places around town, including the W Philadelphia and Trestle Inn.
I hear that's a hot spot. I think there's another person present who sometimes is at the Trestle Inn.
Who, me?
I heard that somewhere. And I got to do a set with him finally, not too long ago.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So much fun.
Well, that all sounds fantastic, Lola. Thank you for sharing that information. For those who will be in the Philadelphia area coming up here, I think at this point we've said as much as we can say. We just got to let one final track take us out. What was that going to be?
That is going to be Together Forever.
Yeah, so this is the song that I definitely remember from the 1980s, and I somehow never put together until you prompted me to listen to this album that this was also Rick Astley. This immediately, as soon as I heard it, just brought back memories of roller skating at Roller World when I'm like 7, 8 years old. And that's how I heard music. I wasn't really exposed to MTV or the radio very much, so it was out at like school functions and stuff like that I often heard music. And immediately the 80s came flooding back to me when I heard this song, which it does have a very similar structure and melody to Never Gonna Give You Up.
For sure.
But it was also a very big hit.
And the fourth single, I think, from this record. Yeah.
So many singles.
So many. I think there were 6, if I recall. So, they were definitely hitting it.
No doubt. Well, glad that we could shine a little more light on other aspects of this album, aside from the one that has come back in the 21st century again and again and again. With that, we're going to get out of here. This is Peter Cook.
I'm Jeremy Ruggles.
I'm Sean Hartman.
And I'm Lola Kinks.
Together Forever, Side A, Track 3.